Do you feel like no matter what you try for weight loss, you just always keep falling off the wagon? I get it. I'm here for you. My name is Dara Tomasson, and this is episode 147, Love Yourself Thin podcast, Weight Loss and Falling Off the Bandwagon again. Okay, so I looked up bandwagon. It's because we always talk about falling off the diet wagon or the bandwagon. And essentially, when you see a parade, they will have a wagon with a band on it, and the band will be playing. So they want you to be, they like if you fall off the wagon, then you're not part of the crowd, and then you're excluded, and then you're kind of bummed out, right? So today we're going to talk about all the wagons you've been on and all the wagons you've fallen off of. And I'm going to give you some support on how to stop doing that because you're wasting a lot of energy. You're getting bumps and bruises by falling off. And really, the main goal is to create your own wagon and be in your own way and create your own success, because that really is the way you're going to guarantee permanent weight loss. We're going to walk through some scenarios, and we're going to look at why did you fall off the wagon. But before we do that, I need to share the ripple effect of what happens with the women in my program. I really love to do this because we lose sight of what the purpose of losing weight is in the first place. The way that I describe weight loss for me and in my program is we get to the root of the issue. So finally, you can start living free from all of the frustration, the disappointment, all those annoying things that happen when you gain the weight back. So the work that I do and the approach I take is we learn how to get to the root of the issue, and weight loss is the side effect of what we do. So yes, we can purposely go and we can purposely say, I want to lose this weight. That's totally legit. It's totally fine. I'm all in. Because we recognize that weight loss, being overweight, is not about you not having self-control. We recognize that. I have more of a problem. Like I have this addiction to sugar or addiction to food, or I have this addiction to overeating. I don't know how to be with myself. I don't know how to solve these problems. I don't know how to work through these issues. I feel really stuck because I don't have the emotional capacity. So if that doesn't sound like you, if that sounds like you just want someone to say, do this, do that, do this, do that, then I'm not your girl, because my approach is I help you become your own best expert, and I help you get to the root of the problem so that you can live a life that you want. So in this example, I have a member in the membership, and her sister came for 3 weeks. And in the past, there would be a lot of conflict. And this was because she describes her sister as her sister can really push her buttons and they can get into some doozies, right? She was there for 3 weeks and that didn't happen. And it's not so much that her sister changed, but it's the way that she thinks differently about her sister and the way that she was doing things. She said she even had, she'd be on a call and her sister would just let her be on there. Now I have on both YouTube and on podcast. But in the worksheet 147, we have these different diets. I just want you to write down, what diets did you do? I have a bunch here. So have you tried keto? And, the concept of keto is really quite interesting. We go really low carb, and then we get our body into a state of ketosis. And then when it's in a state of ketosis, it's able to eat its own fat easier. So I talk about dining in. So there's a concept that's similar. What about weight? Let's just stay on keto for a minute. So with keto, we're really limited on how many carbs. There's a lot of restriction and quite a few rules. And then there's some fears on checking your ketone level. And if they are too high, then you're not into fuel burning. You're not into fat burning. We tend to have a little bit more fear around our food. We have a lot more restriction. And we're kind of obsessing about, is this allowed? Is this not allowed? So you might be checking an app. You might be checking like Pinterest. You're just looking at like asking permission if this is okay. So it puts you in the good student mentality and it takes you out of becoming your own best expert. So I'm curious about, what is your experience with keto for you? If you did, what was it? I want to take one step more. Like, what was one thing you liked about keto? It was kind of in a formula, like if you do this, you will get this. What about Weight Watchers? How many of you have been in Weight Watchers? What things did you like about Weight Watchers? What didn't you like? What things resonated with you? What things were a really big trigger? So being weighed in public, having someone check, telling you if you're good or bad, depending on the number on the scale. Like what kind of triggers were there? Did you learn anything that's sustainable? Did you learn how your body worked? Did you learn about what works well for you, what doesn't? I'd love to hear it. Intermittent fasting. Oh, there's lots of different approaches to intermittent fasting. They talk about different windows, drinking like water, focusing on fats. Like, what is your experience? Have you tried it? Have you got research? What things resonate with you? What doesn't? But what about being hungry? What about the idea of like eating your own fat? So, what about paleo? Did you go to the paleo? I just found a weight loss woman who she calls it prime bod. So, it's like going to your primal body. She doesn't do a lot of working out and she eats a lot of meat. And then what about Atkins diet? I remember my dad did the Atkins diet and we went to my sister's wedding and we went swimming and he had such low energy. He could barely swim. And he's like this 6'4" guy. He kind of got scared. What about the Mediterranean diet? Did you do that? How did you feel on that? What are some other diets? South Beach, Whole30, elimination diet. So what has been your experience when you decide I'm going to go on this diet? So what are the things that they all have in common? Well, there's quite a few. One of them is that you're relying on an expert to know you and your body better than you. When you have a baby, for example, it is important to get research. It's important to know that babies can't eat this or that. Like there are definitely some guidelines that are really, really helpful. Research is really helpful so that you can have informed decisions. So what I'm wanting to really focus on for this episode is if your focus is on falling off the wagon, like feeling bad about yourself and feeling like you're such a failure, instead of your focus saying, I tried keto, I liked this part of it, but I didn't like this part. I tried Weight Watchers. I liked this and I didn't like this. As you go through all the wagons that you've been on, you can start collecting the data on the things that resonated with you, the things that seemed to work, the things that clicked, the things that were helpful. Because when you go to get your own band together on your wagon, you can take all of these amazing wins that you learned from it. One of the things I liked about keto is it seemed pretty simple. It's like you do this, and you get this, and you get this. It's not overcomplicated. Of course, it felt really restrictive. I like variety somewhat, and I actually really like vegetables. Oh, no wonder I fell off the wagon. No wonder this wasn't sustainable. No wonder I didn't want to hang out there because it didn't seem fun. So I wanted to share a story about one of my clients, and she's so amazing. I love all my clients. They're just so wonderful. She had kind of figured out some foods that worked really well for her. She was doing awesome with her Joy Eats once a week, and she was able to go on a trip and was able to walk so much. And I think she was down like 90 pounds. She started at 320, 330 or something, and she was down 90 pounds. It was amazing. There was kind of this challenge because she had so much success, but then she started feeling left out. She started feeling some of that entitlement back, like I should be able to. And she stopped talking to herself and she basically said, I just fell off the wagon because she's done it so many times. But the problem is it's her own wagon. She made her own protocol. It was her own way of doing things. So now, instead of rebelling against some random keto inventor or Weight Watchers or whatever that was, she was doing that against herself. And this is like a foreign territory because she was not accustomed to being on her own wagon, on her own way, really creating her own success. Then the other part was she's not a robot, right? None of us are. We have to be constantly dealing with emotions. So I like to joke around when I was, nesting before I had I remember specifically my second baby. Oh my goodness. I was like hardcore nesting and I was obsessing about the laundry and having everything super organized. And I remember just feeling so deflated because I knew that my husband, myself, and my son were all wearing clothes and they were all getting dirty. And there was no way I was ever going to get all the laundry done. Similar to brushing your teeth. You could brush your teeth for 10 hours in one day, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have to brush your teeth every day for like a year, right? So it's that maintenance. And that's the same thing with weight, with the creating your own protocol. And that's why, falling off these bandwagons only lasts for so long. So when you're learning your own path, when you're winding your own way, it takes courage, it takes stamina, it takes fortitude. One of the things is we have battle scars, we have difficulties. And, we have this optimism and then we have this history in the back saying, well, you failed before. Like, who do you think you are? So that's really hard. So I was reading again, so you can tell obviously I'm reading a book right now because I'm mentioning it in my podcast. But one of the things that they said, this book, When Women Hating Their Bodies, Stop Hating Their Bodies, they talked about when you're a little kid. She said, I realize that I go further than simply saying I'm fat. I actually tell myself with all the hatred I can muster that I deserve to be fat. I'm just beginning to question what I really do deserve, and I'm beginning to see that I certainly didn't deserve the treatment I received as a child. I see now that for years I've been repeating to myself what I heard coming at me from my parents. It wasn't just about my being fat, it was about everything. I believed that I deserved their contempt. Bad body thoughts became my main weapon against myself. I'll tell you truthfully, I'm scared about the rage that's buried in my bad body thoughts. Where will it go? I can't imagine not having that self-abuse as my constant companion. And then she continues to say that we were all born deserving to be born in homes with unconditional love and acceptance. But whether we got what we needed as children or not, the time has come to supply it to ourselves. So if, like this woman, you feel frightened by the feelings buried beneath your bad body thoughts, you may want to seek professional help, okay? Or come in and speak to me. The crutch of it was that when children are treated badly, they think they are bad. And it's just so sad. And I think about us having the pressure from society saying you have to be smaller. You can't be too big. You can't take up too much space. But then we have these alternatives of these diets that don't understand the emotional component. And then we're supposed to just be more good girls. And then if we fail on a diet, it's like reinforces, I guess we're bad. When I was raising my kids when they were little, I would say, that was a bad choice. I never, ever said you were a bad girl or a bad boy, ever. Never. So that was just a bad choice you made. And that was a good choice. And when we make good choices, we have good consequences quite often. Bad choices, bad consequences. This is part of being a human. So I'm just going to offer you some suggestions of things that you can do to help yourself when you feel like you're falling off the wagon. And which, by the way, I want you to build your own wagon and I want you to be on your own wagon, your own path. You need to become your own best expert. So when you can see yourself being triggered, when you can see like, oh dear, here we go again. I'm watching TV at night. I'm having these thoughts. This is usually when I go get the popcorn. I'm feeling really lonely or whatever that is. You can go and get a drink, like preparing a drink, cutting the lemon, cutting up the ginger, boiling the water, and saying to yourself, I'm going to take care of you. Don't you worry. I will never quit on you. You are so important to me. You could also, even if it's not time to eat, recently I had this experience where I didn't quite get the result I wanted. I was feeling pretty frustrated. So I just went downstairs and I just started chopping up the apples that needed to be used up. So I thought, I'll just make some applesauce. Just the act of preparing the apples, coring them, slicing them, putting them in the Instapot, sprinkling in the cinnamon, and making that applesauce. I didn't have to eat anything, but just that act of that repetition of nurturing myself, preparing that food felt really loving. Or whenever I was hungry, I would have some delicious applesauce with nice fiber, and I had some beautiful Greek yogurt that it pairs really nicely with it. And I was going to take care of myself. Another thing you can do when you feel like you're triggered is turn on some music or jump on your little mini trampoline or just go outside in the nature for a minute. Or if you get cold, you just go in your car with a heated seat and just kind of relax and just do some deep breathing. I sometimes will go and just sit by my hummingbird feeder. I just will just put I have my glass in my mason jar, and I will just enjoy having that nice warm water on my hands. Maybe it's reading. I have for Christmas this past year, my sons all wrote me really, really nice cards, like letters. It's right beside my bed. So maybe it's that. We all deserve to have unconditional love. And some of us got it and some of us didn't. The truth is, a lot of us do not give ourselves unconditional love. And that's why we are in such a deficit. And so my challenge to you is to make a wagon, a figurative wagon. And what are you going to put on that wagon? I love you no matter what. Every time I walk on the scale, I step on the scale every morning, I say, I love you no matter what. What are you going to write on that wagon? What is the mission statement of that wagon? What is the theme song of that wagon? Love is all you need. RESPECT. What is your theme song? What would it be like to write one? I love you no matter what. I love you for always. I love you forever. That's such a beautiful children's book about the mom who says, my boy is making me crazy. But when it's a dark night and she'll go into his room and she'll pick him up and she'll swing him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And she says, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as you're living, my baby will be. And then she talks about when he becomes a teenager and he makes her crazy. And she just loves him no matter what. And then eventually she gets really old and she calls her son and says, I'm getting really old. I don't know how much longer I'll be here. And he drove across town and he got a ladder and he put her in his lap and he sang the same song. What would that be like for us just to love ourselves so much? And it's not narcissistic. It's not conceited. It's actually what we really need. And when we build that wagon for ourselves, we will never fall off of it because it's a place where we'll always want to be. And inside my program, we learn how to do that. And I'm so proud of that work. And in the month of May, if you're listening to this at the time of release of 2024, we're learning all about menopause. And then in June, we're going to dive right into menopause and perimenopause. And we're going to build a relationship with ourselves as we age and as we change. And I'm really looking forward to it. So if you want to join us for that, I'd love you to come. All right. I'll take care. Take care.
Yeah. If you find so many tools and gems from the podcast, you wouldn't even believe what a difference it is in the membership where we go deep into these topics. And for the month of May, we are going to work on how our mental health impacts our physical health. And so if you are struggling with anxiety or depression or any of those mental health issues, I invite you to consider coming and preparing for joining us in Love Yourself Thin, where we're really going to take a deep dive into that. I can't wait to see you there. Bye. If you find so many tools and gems from the podcast, you wouldn't even believe what a difference it is in the membership where we go deep into these topics. And for the month of May, we are going to work on how our mental health impacts our physical health. And so if you are struggling with anxiety or depression or any of those mental health issues, I invite you to consider coming and preparing for joining us in Love Yourself Thin, where we're really going to take a deep dive into that. I can't wait to see you there. Bye.